parents of Reddit, what is your best "why is my kid so stupid" moment? My toddler watched at least an hour of an animated movie populated entirely by talking animals. Suddenly, a giraffe came on screen and said something. My kid stood up, pointed at the TV, and angrily yelled, "What? Giraffes can talk." My son, who was 8 at the time, and an only child, carved his very long name into the toilet seat, then claimed he didn't do it. LOL. My 4-year-old son just the other day spilled his water bottle on the floor. I told him to get paper towels to wipe it up. He does. Then I told him to throw the towels in the trash. He wrings them back out onto the floor before he throws them in the trash. When my brother was around 6, he decided he wanted to play Tarzan with a cord hanging in his room. However, the cord kept slipping from his hand, so he decided to swing with it around his neck instead. My poor grandmother walked into the room to find her grandchild apparently trying to hang himself. My son, at age 10, I was trying to figure out why my shower was draining so slowly and wound up pulling the drain strainer out. Inside I found a bunch of brown paper goop. It took me a while to figure out what it was. I went to my son and asked him, "Did you tear up a toilet paper tube into little pieces and cram those pieces down the drain in the shower?" "Yes." "Okay. /brain fries / how about not?" "Sure." Our daughter, when asked what she wanted to be when she grows up, answered, "I want to be a strawberry. But if that's too hard, I want to be purple. The color purple. The fruit strawberry." She was 5. When I was a kid, my little brother woke up and thought he saw Frankenstein walking down our hallway in the middle of the night. He took off running in his underwear. Out the door. Down the block. Several blocks really. A couple picked him up maybe 4 blocks away and brought him home. He was on his way to my grandmother's trailer a good half-mile away. Kicker was, the Frankenstein he saw was my grandmother, who was staying with us that night. Took a while to live that one down. When I was 11, we were at a park that had one of those swirly slides that is kind of like a tunnel. Well, I wanted to act like a mountain climber and tie a rope around myself and jump down the slide to climb back up. What was the best spot to tie the rope? I asked myself. The neck. Good location to easily grab the rope and pull myself back up. Plus convenient tying spot. My parents ran to me yelling and stopped me mid-knot, tying a rope around my neck to jump down a slide. In retrospect, I'm a dumbass. When my sister was 18, she was planning a trip to California after HS graduation. She spent several days calling banks to get the exchange rate for money because somehow she was absolutely convinced that regular US currency in Pennsylvania was not usable in California. She thought the banks were all lying to her that it was the same money. I am surprised she even found California. If I can be the kid who made my parents ask this question. I walked into a wall when I was 5 because I was walking around looking through binoculars backwards. Got these 2 massive ring bruises around my eyes. My older brother carved my name into the side of my mom's car with a rock for whatever reason and tried to blame it on me. I was like 4 years old and couldn't write yet. Son always has mystery bruises. Swears he doesn't run into things. We hear him yell ouch from his room, the bathroom, or when he opens the fridge into his face. Last night he was on his tiptoes looking at something on the table. He lowered to his flat feet and almost bit his stupid ducking tongue off because his chin was still over the table. So much blood. When I caught him peeing in the doorway of his room at the age of 5. His reason? Cause I don't want the kitty coming into my room. When a sudden rainstorm hit our campsite, my 11-year-old rescued a full water bucket from the rain and put it under the canopy to keep it dry. When I heard my wife say to my then 3-year-old son, /name /, "Please stop sniffing all the cars." We were walking through a parking lot. My son has microwaved ramen noodles with no water a few times. Just so you know. They are flammable and smoke horribly and turn your microwave an awful yellow color. My youngest, around the age of 3, lost having curtains in his room after the second time he bent the hook that the curtain rod hangs onto because he tried swinging on his curtains. It turns out that the tiny piece of metal that's designed to hold the weight of a curtain rod is not designed to support a child. Several years later we'd moved to a new house, and decided he was certainly old enough to stop swinging on curtains. We made sure to sit down with him to explain that when he was little, he would swing on them, and that it broke the curtain rods. Now that he was around 6 or 7, he was old enough to remember not to climb the curtains. He lost the curtains the next day, after he tried swinging on them. Perhaps he thought we were lying to him? Okay. But that could happen to anyone. And 6 or 7. That's still pretty young. When he was 10, he grabbed the wooden towel bar in the bathroom, and fell backwards, and then kept falling, because the small wooden rod was only attached to the rest of the towel bar via a small piece of wood that was glued to the main structure, and, once again, was meant to support the weight of a wet towel or two. Not a 10-year-old child. Damn near gave himself a concussion on the side of the bathtub that time. My mother always brings up when she asked my brother to turn on the kettle and he answered, "Shall I make it hot or cold?" and I thought I was stupid. On Mother's Day, when I was only small, my dad told me for Mother's Day we would give my mom a lion because she had had a stressful week between jobs. Of course, tiny me had no concept of what a lion was and assumed my dad said a lion. Me. Are we actually getting mom a lion? Dad. Yes. Your mom really deserved a lion. So we'll give her one this morning. I then proceed to sprint excitedly to my parents' room, climb onto the bed, jump up and down over my poor sleeping mother screaming, "Wake up! Wake up, we are getting you a lion! Wake up right now!" My mother did not get a lion. Or a lion for that matter. Not my kid. But my niece loves crawling around on the floor trying to lick doorstops. When she's not doing that, she actively searches for dust/lint on the floor and tries to devour it before you take it from her. I was that kid. My parents took my siblings and I to a greenhouse garden. Everyone was on their best behavior until I got the sudden urge to lick some foamy stuff off of a window. I was always a good kid. Never caused any trouble, but for whatever reason I had this compulsion to lick this foamy stuff off the window. Poison control had to be called. My parents were frantic. It was an ordeal. I was anaphylactic to milk at the time too. And I was definitely old enough to know better. One time my mom asked me what color my eyes were, so I started looking around trying to see them. This is about me. And I'm sure my mom almost killed me for this. In 5th grade, I decided it would be a wonderful idea to lock my backpack to my desk with a bike lock I brought to school, for some reason, and swallow the key for it. I went to the ER and the lock stayed there the whole year. Our kids were probably 10 and 6. We are at a restaurant and they both order hot chocolate. Our drinks come. Both my wife and I are putting our straws in our own drinks and not paying attention. Both of the children simultaneously stick straws into the steaming hot chocolate and take huge drinks, and start freaking out. When we allowed our kids to choose a pint of ice cream each, my son insisted on grabbing the gallon and wouldn't be told differently. We placed it back in the freezer and told him we were going to check out. So he had 1 minute to grab a different ice cream or get nothing. As our turn to check out comes, our son approaches with both the same gallon of ice cream as well as a jar of maraschino cherries. Lose debit card. Go through painful renewal process. Finally arrives in the mail. Kid asks, "Can I see it?" He takes it and bends it in half. "Hey mommy. Wanna see a trick?" "Sure honey. Show me a trick." Asterisk kid runs around in circles to build up momentum. Very deliberately crashes head first into the wall, then falls down and starts crying. Asterisk. Good trick, sweetie. As a kid I would always try to touch hot things, like the stove or the clothes iron, even after my mom warned me. She eventually figured it. She can touch it, burn herself and learn her lesson. Well, I did not learn the first time, or the second time, or the third time. Honestly, my mother lost count on how many times I actually burned myself. She started guarding me again, since I was clearly too dumb to learn from my mistakes, so I got smarter about how to get around her. I couldn't make the connection of careful it's hot equals it will hurt like hell equals don't touch it, but I could make the connection of do it quickly / pretend like you listen equals you'll be able to touch it. I also had a cousin who had an interesting reaction to punishment. Let's say he wasn't allowed to play a video game. He would then try to get rid of all his toys, demand to only be served food that he hated and sit on the floor facing a wall. When asked what he was doing, he would answer, "Since you seem to like taking away things that make me happy, I've decided to be miserable forever." Happy now? My guess is he wanted the grown-ups to feel bad for him, but the whole thing was hilarious. So dramatic. I was the stupid kid. I was at my cousin's above-ground pool when I was around 5 and there was a bumblebee sitting on the deck. My mom saw it and said, "Go around it." I proceeded to step on it and get stung. I think my little brain said jump over it, and instead I jumped on it. A bee lost its life that day. My son came home one afternoon from school with one shoe. Me: "What happened to your other shoe?" Son: "I lost it." M: "What? What do you mean you lost it?" S: "I lost it. I don't know where it is." M: "So, when did you lose your shoe?" S: "At lunch." M: "So you've been walking around all afternoon with only one shoe?" S: "Yup." M: Begins to understand why hamsters eat their young. One time when I was half asleep as a kid, I got out of bed to go to the toilet. But instead of turning left into the bathroom, I turned right and pissed down the stairs. My parents caught me talking to myself when I was around 5. I had just gotten out of the shower and was staring at myself in the mirror. I had sucked my lips under my teeth and telling myself, "I have no lips. I have no lips." My mom started laughing and asking what I was doing, to which I replied by popping my lips back to their regular position and exclaiming, "Lips? After all these years?" Even I knew I was stupid after that one. My 12-year-old daughter blamed a squirrel when we asked how the Borgs for her slime projects moved from the garage to the kitchen counter. It's so fulfilling to go from "I'm pretty sure you're lying" to 100% I know you're lying. Not me. But my younger brother loved eating ants. He just grabbed a bunch of them and put them in his mouth and started chewing. I guess they bit him, but he didn't care. My little sister said she wanted to become a toilet when she grew up. I remind her of it quite often.